Your hair looks thinner this morning. You didn't imagine it. It's real. You stand at the mirror. You add volume. You try a different angle. And it still looks flat. Depleted. Like it's working against you. That feeling has a name. And it has a fix that most stylists never mention out loud. You are someone who notices. Who cares? Who has not simply accepted this as just getting older. That is exactly why this still bothers you. And exactly why you are going to walk away from this video with 3 styles that are genuinely working for fine and thinning hair in 2026. Not trends. Not guesswork. Styles that were built for your specific hair type and your specific bone structure. Here is what nobody says plainly. Fine thinning hair over 60 does not need more product. It needs the right shape. And one wrong cut, just one, is quietly collapsing the volume you do have every single morning before you even leave the house. I researched the worst style and beauty mistakes and youth-boosting fixes for mature women, so you get simple, proven transformations that work immediately. Today we are covering 3 stunning short hairstyles for women over 60 with fine thinning hair. And by part 3, you are going to want to stop the video and call your stylist. I mean it. Part 1 opens with the one cut that creates the illusion of twice the density, and the specific detail most women forget to ask for that makes or breaks it. Part 2 covers a style so structurally clever it lifts the entire face. Part 3 has the one finish technique that makes fine hair look full in photographs, and it takes 30 seconds. If you haven't already, hit subscribe. I cover this every week. Part 1, the layered pixie bob, volume built into the cut. You have been adding volume with product. Mousse, spray, dry shampoo, the whole routine. And it works for about 40 minutes. Then the weight comes back, the roots go flat, and you are back where you started. Here is what I want you to hear. This is not a product problem. This is a shape problem. And once you understand that, everything changes. This is the one most women realize too late. A flat, uncut, blunt short hairstyle is borrowing volume it can never repay. The weight of the hair itself is pressing against your roots and collapsing exactly the lift you are trying to build. Every morning. Without you knowing it. The first style that genuinely works for fine thinning hair in 2026 is a layered pixie bob. Not a pixie and not a bob. The specific hybrid that lives between them. The back sits close to the nape, short and clean. The sides taper softly. The top carries all the length. Just enough to create movement, just enough to layer. That top length is where the magic happens. When a skilled stylist cuts internal layers into the top section, not choppy, not shaggy, but precise graduated layers, the hair no longer lies flat. It lifts from the root because there is nothing weighing it down. The heavy base is gone. What remains is structure. And structure is what fine hair has been asking for. Write this one down. Ask your stylist for graduated internal layers through the top section only. Tell them you want the crown to lift without teasing. Tell them the sides should taper, not blunt cut, and the nape should be close. Those 4 instructions describe the layered pixie bob precisely. Most stylists know it immediately. Some will call it a textured pixie or a layered short crop. The name matters less than the result. Now here is the maintenance tip most women miss. This cut needs a refresh every 5 to 6 weeks. Not because it grows out badly, but because the layers need to stay clean to keep the lift working. A 6-week gap is your hard maximum. 7 weeks and the weight starts coming back. One more thing before we move on. The second style I am about to share with you. This is the one people message me about most. Every single time. I was not expecting that when I first covered it. But it always is. Part 2, the feathered French crop. The cut that lifts the face. Bold truth first. The shape of your hair at the crown is directly affecting how your cheekbones read. Not slightly, not subtly, directly, measurably, in every photograph and every mirror. And if your cut is currently flat at the top and full at the sides, it is doing the exact opposite of what fine hair needs. I know that sounds specific, but honestly, this is the mistake I wish someone had said plainly 5 years earlier, instead of dancing around it with vague suggestions about volumizing. Fine thinning hair over 60 is being aged, right now, by width without height. When the sides carry more visual weight than the crown, the face reads wider at the jaw, the cheekbones flatten, and everything drops. 4 to 6 years added to how your face is perceived. Not because of your skin. Not because of your features. Because of where your hair is carrying its weight. The second style is the feathered French crop. And I watched a woman in a salon chair last week. Stunning bone structure, perfect posture. And a French crop was doing everything right for her that her previous cut had been doing wrong for months. She kept asking the stylist to just clean up her old style. She didn't realize she was one shape away from looking completely transformed. The feathered French crop sits close and clean around the sides and back. Very close, almost sculpted. But the top is longer, and here is the specific technique. The stylist feathers the ends of the top section so the hair falls forward in soft, light pieces. Not spiky. Not blunt. Feathered. Each piece catches light differently, and collectively they create the visual impression of density that fine hair cannot create on its own. This one is everything. What to swap? If you are currently wearing a short rounded cut with uniform length all around, swap it for the feathered French crop. The rounded cut distributes weight evenly, which sounds sensible, but for fine thinning hair it means no section carries enough visual interest to create lift. The feathered French crop directs all the interest upward. Your cheekbones rise. Your eyes open. The jaw reads narrower. It is a structural decision, not a styling trick. Maintenance is simple. The sides need to stay very close. Ask your stylist to use a clipper guard on the sides every 4 to 5 weeks and leave the top untouched so the feathered length can develop. 2-zone maintenance. One cut serves 2 purposes. There is one thing about the third style that nobody in this space talks about. That is next. Part 3. The textured taper with crown piece. The secret the photographs reveal. Have you ever looked at a photograph of yourself and felt your hair looked thinner in the image than it does in your mirror at home? You are not imagining it. Camera flattens volume. Natural light collapses texture. And the cut that looks decent in a dim bathroom becomes invisible the moment a phone camera captures it. That is the part nobody says out loud. Most shortcuts for fine hair are not photograph-proof. They work in the mirror. They fail in the image. And since most of us are seen in photographs, family gatherings, video calls, anything captured, this matters more than stylists acknowledge. The third style was specifically built around this problem. It is called the textured taper with a crown piece. Here is the key insight. What reads as volume in a photograph is not mass. It is contrast. Edge. The visual impression of density comes from the difference between where the hair is shorter and where it is slightly longer, and specifically from the way light hits those transitions. Fine hair can absolutely create that contrast, but it requires a deliberate structural choice, not just a texture spray. The textured taper with crown piece works like this. The sides and back taper down, closer than most women ask for, more defined than a standard shortcut. Then at the crown, the stylist leaves a distinct section of slightly longer hair, the crown piece, and cuts it with vertical point cutting to create real visible texture. Not a comb-over. Not a sweep. A deliberate, specific crown section with cut-in movement. Yes, that powerful. The taper creates the contrast. The crown piece catches the light. Together they photograph as a head of hair that looks full, dimensional, and genuinely styled. Even on the finest hair type. In natural light, on camera, in any photograph you will be in this year. What to swap? If you are currently wearing a short cut with no taper definition, sides and back cut uniformly with no gradient, swap it for the textured taper with crown piece. The uniform cut is invisible on camera. The tapered version is architectural. Your bone structure now has a frame around it that light can interact with. The finish technique that makes this photograph proof in 30 seconds. After styling, use a tiny amount of pomade, fingertip amount, not more, and press the crown piece gently between your fingertips before releasing it. That motion separates the point cut strands and makes each piece individually visible. Fine hair behaves differently than thick hair under a camera lens. And that one touch tells each strand to stand slightly apart. The result in photographs looks like twice the density you actually have. Coming up next, the one accessory mistake that adds 10 years to your overall style overnight. And it is not what you would expect. Part 4. Choosing the right style for your face shape and making any of these 3 work harder. Here is something a stylist told me that I have never forgotten. She said, The best haircut in the world is the wrong haircut on the wrong face shape. She was not being cruel. She was telling the truth that the industry quietly knows but rarely says to a client's face. 3 stunning styles. 1 right choice. And the difference between getting it wrong and getting it right is not starting over. It is knowing 2 things about your own bone structure that nobody has probably ever pointed out to you plainly. This is the part that makes the other 3 parts work. Most women over 60 with fine thinning hair choose a short style based on what they saw on someone else, a photograph, a celebrity, a friend at a dinner table. And the style worked beautifully on that person. But her face shape and your face shape may be doing completely different things with the exact same cut. Here is the framework. Oval and long face shapes carry the layered pixie bob with almost no modification needed. The cut was essentially designed around that structure. The layers lift the crown without adding width, which complements length beautifully. If you have a longer face, ask for the sides to be left with just a touch more texture, so the width balances. That one instruction changes everything. Round and soft face shapes, including faces that have become softer with age, carry the feathered French crop better than almost any other short style. The reason is structural. The close-cut sides remove width at the jaw, and the lifted feathered crown creates vertical visual direction. The face appears longer, the jaw reads narrower, and the cheekbones lift. That is exactly the opposite of what a rounded blunt cut does to the same face. Square and angular jaw shapes, and many women find their jaw has become more defined as they have aged, carry the textured taper with crown piece most powerfully. The taper creates a gradation from jaw to crown that softens the lower face. The crown piece draws the eye upward. The result is a visual elongation that makes strong angular structure appear refined and intentional rather than sharp. This one changes how you walk into every salon conversation from now on. Now here is what ties all 3 styles together. The one element that makes any of them work harder at every stage of growth. Root lift at the application stage, not the styling stage. Before your hair dries, apply a volumizing mousse or a root lifting spray specifically to the root zone. Not the lengths, not the ends. And then diffuse or air dry with your head slightly tipped forward. This positions the root in a lifted direction before it sets. Once the root sets flat, no amount of styling product rescues it. Roots must be lifted wet. That is the rule fine hair lives by. Honestly, this is the detail most women are skipping without realizing it is the whole secret. The product is fine. The blow dryer is fine. The timing is everything. The next mistake I am covering, the one accessory error that quietly adds 10 years, is something almost every woman I speak to is making right now without any idea it is happening. That is coming up next, and it is not what you think. You just learned 3 structurally specific short hairstyles built for fine thinning hair in 2026, the layered pixie bob, the feathered French crop, and the textured taper with crown piece. And you now know exactly which one works for your bone structure and why. Most women spend years figuring that out alone. You did it in one sitting. Your beautiful bone structure was always this powerful. The right cut is simply the frame that finally lets it show. Tell me in the comments, which of these 3 styles are you going to take to your stylist first? And were you accidentally making the flat cut mistake from part 1 without knowing it? Next time, we are getting into the one accessory mistake that adds 10 years overnight, and I promise it is not the one you are expecting. Like this video, subscribe to Timeless Wisdom Path, and I will see you in the next one.